guys, hot one today. Suffering with my hay fever, my eyes are stinging like a bitch. Anyway, as you can see by the car, I've got some wood in here because I'm going to be doing a bit of proper man work today in the garden. Well, until England playing, and I'll probably come in for a bit. You know what I say, mad dogs and Englishmen and all that. Anyway, the worst kept secret in football is now out. Mr. Paratici is now Tottenham's Director of Football Operations. So presumably he's the man who Mr. Levy is going to chuck in front of the cameras and go, not down to me, Gov, down to the Director of Football, he's taking it all on. So, yeah. Doesn't start until the 1st of July officially, but presumably he's already doing the work that he needs to do in terms of trying to get us a football manager. Still no news on that, but I have watched the Daniel Levy "Please Leave Me Alone" video that he did. All very stage managed, all very ask specific questions, but don't ask anything that's too difficult. And yeah, unimpressed really. I don't feel sorry for him. You know, at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. He's earning a good wedge out of it. So at the end, you know, overall, he's the man who's responsible, right? So £200 million in lost revenue. Okay, get that. But that's revenue that you were planning, not necessarily guaranteed revenue. Although, you know, it is pretty much guaranteed up to a certain extent. But, you know, it's not guaranteed revenue. You can't base your mortgage payments on it. Surely, you know, that people are going to buy a pie and they are going to buy a pint, you know. There are some really good pubs around Tottenham who could do with that business more than Tottenham could, to be fair. So, you know, that seems to suggest that there's not going to be much of a change in our spending policy. Pretty much sell to buy. So that's going to be difficult. So perhaps that is why we can't attract the elite managers that we're talking about, because they don't want to work in that environment where, you know, they've got to sell their best players to get half a dozen sort of fairly good players to be able to compete and just get you into a top 4 spot. Most of these guys don't want to be in a top 4 spot. They want to win the thing. They want to win the Europa League. They want to win the Champions League. They want to win the Premier League. They don't want to just compete in it, because at the end of the day, what does that do for your CV? What does that do for your self-esteem? What does that do for your, you know, your personality and your progression as a person, as a coach, as a, you know, as someone who's going to leave a legacy and be respected? So yeah, that looks pretty much like why we are where we are managerially wise. There was no good news either about the Harry Kane situation. Didn't seem to rule it out, didn't seem to rule it in. We share his frustration. Yeah, okay, we share it up to a point where it might cost us some money. And what it also did show us is that Mr. Paratici is actually going to be still working with Mr. Hitchin. So no real change in our policy of scouting and all that kind of stuff. And other reports are also suggesting that Ryan Mason and Ledley King will still be part of the coaching setup. So pretty much we are still where we were, and kind of where we expected to be. So no real shock, to be honest. So yeah, Paratici in, Fonseca maybe next, shopping in the bargain basement, and no news on Kane. So there you go. I did want to just also touch on, and I didn't want to do a video about it, but like many millions of people, I was watching the Denmark versus Finland game and watched in horror as Christian Eriksen slumped to the floor. Desperately sad scenes, desperately sad. I was absolutely in shock and, you know, distraught. I've got to be honest, I was distraught. Not for him because he's a Tottenham player, but the fact that this was being played out live on international TV globally, and his wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever, was seen in that situation, and that broke my heart, to be honest with you. So just say fair play to the referee, Mr. Taylor, who stopped the game fairly quickly, got the medical people on. Absolute fair play to the Denmark players who gathered around him and to protect him, to give him some privacy. That was amazing, absolutely amazing. And to their players who consoled his partner, you know, absolutely fantastic to see, very touching. And the good news is, from what I can gather, is that, you know, this is not necessarily a story that's going to end badly. Christian seems to be making a bit of a recovery. He's having tests and so on. And from one of the things I saw, said that he FaceTimed the team to say, please carry on with the game, which I think is amazing. Just finishing off on, you know, good luck, Christian. I hope that everything, as the world does, hope that everything turns out okay and you make a full recovery. God bless you. Up the Spurs.